NASCAR is a team sport like many other professional sporting leagues around the world. Teams in NASCAR are unique in that they sometimes have multiple teams under their umbrella competing against each other. Imagine if the Yankees fielded two MLB teams, or the Packers had two NFL teams. In the sport's 75-year history, we have seen many teams come and go. Some are new to the scene, and others have been around for over 50 years. Hi, I'm your host Matt, and this is NASCAR Team History, presented by Dogleg Media. In this series, we look to tell the stories of the different teams in our sport's history. We will explore a wide range of topics in respect to the team's history, when they entered NASCAR, their drivers, their numbers, and overall legacy. We will also be including memorable moments from you, the viewer. Today we explore one of the hottest teams in recent memory, a true rise, fall, and rise again story. We look at the history of Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. But with that out of the way, let's dive into some more NASCAR team history. Let's first look at an overview of some key statistics for RFK in the Cup Series. They were founded in 1988. They have 141 total wins at the time of this recording and 2 total championships. They have seen 10 different winners in their time. As mentioned earlier, RFK would get its start in 1988 under the name Roush Racing. It was founded by a former Ford Motor Company employee, Jack Roush. And fun fact, Jack was born in my home state of Kentucky, so that's pretty neat for us Kentuckians. The team would be ran under the Roush Racing banner until 2007. John Henry, the owner of the Fenway Sports Group, would purchase 50% of the team. They would rename the operation Roush Fenway Racing. This name would stick until 2022. It was announced that Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski would be leaving his long-term team Penske to take on an ownership stake at Roush. He would become yet another driver owner, much like Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart, and the team would be renamed to its present Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. It is known as RFK because, well, saying the full name is just a lot. Now let's jump into the numbers used by Roush, their drivers, and the true history of the team through the years. We start this off with the 6. This would be the number that would start RFK's journey in the Cup Series. It is a very well-known number, mainly for the winningest driver in its history. The number 6 has 36 total wins with 2 different drivers. Mark Martin would be the very first driver for RFK in the Cup Series, making the team's first start at the 1988 Daytona 500. Martin is a Hall of Famer, and he made himself one because of the achievements he would attain at Roush. Martin would win 35 times in the 6 car, and would finish second in points 3 total times. While Mark would never win a championship, his stats are next level. Mark would pilot the 6 from 1988 until 2006. He is the inspiration behind the thumbnail, because when I personally think of Roush's history, Mark is at the front of my mind. After Mark would leave the team in 2006, David Reagan would be the driver to take his place. Reagan would pilot the 6 from 2007 until 2011. David is the last driver to take the 6 to victory lane as well, with his lone win in the number coming at the 2011 Coke Zero 400. David wasn't originally supposed to be in this ride, Todd Kluver was, but his lackluster Xfinity Series stats in 2006 kept Roush from putting him in the car. After the 2011 season, Roush would only run the 6 car in 4 races, all 4 with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Stenhouse would win back-to-back Xfinity Series titles in the RFK 6 car in 2011 and 2012. His results in the Cup number 6 were far from his Xfinity Series stats with it, finishing 20th or worst in 3 of his 4 starts. The 6 would sit dormant for the 2013 and 2014 seasons. The next driver of it would be Trevor Bayne in 2015. Bayne would attempt to start at Charlotte in 2014, but he failed to qualify. The 2011 Daytona 500 winner would get the keys to the 6 ride from 2015 until 2018. His time in the 6 wasn't ideal, with a best points finish of 22nd. He would collect only 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s in his time. In 2018, Bayne would share the seat with 2003 Cup Series champion Matt Kenseth. This would be his final season with the number. And we just talked about the next driver on the list, it would be Matt Kenseth. Kenseth would make his return to Roush and run 15 races in the number 6. Kenseth showed signs of promise in the number, winning a stage at Indy and finishing the season with 2 straight top 10s. We will touch on Matt Kenseth more soon, don't you worry. And then that brings us to Ryan Newman. The Rocket Man would run 2 seasons in the RFK 6 car, 2019 and 2020. Newman looks super promising for the equipment given in 2019, barely missing the playoffs. And let's look at the stark differences. Newman scored 11 top 10s in 2019 alone, while Bain and Kenseth scored that many in 4 years. 2020 looked to start out the perfect way for Newman, leading coming out of turn 4 at the Daytona 500, eyeing his second 500 win. What happened next was one of the scariest wrecks in our sport's history, and for me personally, it definitely takes the top spot. Newman would be taken to Halifax Medical Center after the race, and would miraculously walk out of the hospital the following Wednesday. He would miss the next 3 races before being cleared to run again. Newman would struggle after returning, scoring only 1 top 10 at Talladega that fall. And while Newman was out of the car, Ross Chastain would fill in for him. There isn't much to note about Chastain's time here with the car. He would struggle with a best finish of 17th. And that brings us to our current driver and team owner, Brad Keselowski. Bad Brad would make his start at RFK in 2022, and man, what a tough season that was. Brad would have the worst points finish since his rookie season, finishing 24th in the standings. 2022 would see 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s for the 6. 2023 has been a total turnaround, and Brad is at the center of the team's revival. 6 top 5s and 11 top 10s allowed Brad to point his way into the playoffs. Brad's win in the 6 is coming. This portion of the video will be outdated very soon. His time is close. I can sense it. And that brings us to the 16. It would be the second number Roush would run full time. Let's jump in. The 16 has 19 total wins with 1 driver. The first to pilot the Roush 16 would be Wally Dallenbach. He would run the 16 from 1992 until 1993. Dallenbach's time in the 16 was less than stellar. A best points finish of 22nd, he would record 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s. He did finish second at Watkins Glen in 1993 though, so that's a bright spot. After Dallenbach would leave the team, Ted Musgrave would take the keys of the 16. He would pilot it from 1994 until 1998. Musgrave would have some solid runs in the 16, with a best points finish of 7th in 1995. All in all, Musgrave would collect 15 top 5s and 39 top 10s in that time, not too shabby at all. Musgrave would suddenly be removed from the ride in 1998 for the next driver, and at the time, this was definitely shocking news. The driver who would replace Musgrave midway through the 1998 season would be Kevin LePage. LePage was definitely not the move for Roush, as in his 2 full-time seasons with the number, he would have a best points finish of 25th. LePage would collect 2 top 5s and 7 top 10s in his time with the 16. And here he is. Now we get to the Biff. Greg Biffle is the number's only winner for RFK, and he would do it 19 times. Biffle would run the 16 from 2002 until 2016. He is a Truck and Xfinity Series champion, and he would get his Cup career started with a bang as well. He would win his first race in his rookie season at Daytona. Biffle would collect 175 top 10s in his time, and would finish second in the points in 2005. If I'm being entirely honest, I didn't know anyone else drove the 16 for Roush other than Biffle. He was just so synonymous with the number. Biffle was named to NASCAR's 75 Greatest Drivers list, and he very well could end up on a Hall of Fame ballot someday. Moving right along to the 17, and we have our first of 2 championship-winning numbers for the team. The 17 has 30 total wins with 3 different drivers. And we start this one out with a legend. Matt Kenseth is responsible for 24 of the 30 total wins the number has with the team. He would run it from 1999 until 2012. He would also get the team's first championship as an organization, winning the final Winston Cup championship in 2003. Not only did Kenseth dominate in his time with the number, he would get 2 Daytona 500 wins as well, the first 2 for the organization. From winning the Rookie of the Year in 2000 to becoming a Hall of Famer in 2023, Matt Kenseth is definitely one of the greats of our sport, and he would add on to the legacy of the 17 car. After Kenseth would leave RFK to join Joe Gibbs Racing, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would take over the 17 ride. He would run it from 2013 until 2019. Stenhouse would struggle for the most part, except in 2017, where he would miraculously win 2 races at Talladega and Daytona to lock himself into the playoffs. He was no slouch there either, making it into the round of 12, avoiding elimination after the first round. These would be the only 2 wins for Stenhouse, and aside from the 2017 season, he would finish 19th or worse every other season with the number. And that brings us to our current driver, Chris Buescher. Buescher would take over the ride in 2020. Since that time, he has won 4 times, including 3 in 2023 alone. Zane Smith would fill in for 1 race for Buescher at Gateway in 2022 after Chris would test positive for COVID-19. He would get the team's first win as RFK Racing in 2022 at the Bristol Night Race. With the resurgence the team is making, Buescher has wheeled the 17 to victory 3 times in 2023 within a 5-race stretch. Buescher is a serious threat for the title and could very well add on to this win total before the end of the season. How many more wins do you see Buescher getting? And now we move on to the 26. And while it has a very strange history, I love it for some reason. The 26 has 2 total wins with 1 driver. The first to pilot the 26 for RFK would be Johnny Benson Jr. And I don't think I've ever seen a more inconsistent season than Benson's 1998 campaign. He would finish 22nd in the points, and at first glance that does look pretty bad. However, he would record 3 top 5s and 10 top 10s that season. The fall off this team would experience was insane. Through the first 11 races, Benson would have 3 top 5s and 7 top 10s. Life was good. He would then finish outside the top 20 in 17 of the remaining 22 races. What in the world happened? His 1999 campaign was somehow worse, as it didn't benefit from a hot start, where he would finish 28th in the standings. The 26 would be absent for 6 seasons, and Roush would bring it back after Kurt Busch would leave the 97 at the end of the 2005 season. Jamie McMurray would be named the driver of the 26 in 2006, and he would pilot it through the 2009 season. Jamie Mack would record 2 wins in the 26, both at super speedways. His first win with the number would come at the 2007 Coke 0400, which would end up being the closest finish at Daytona ever. His last win in the number would also be the last win for the number so far, winning at Talladega in 2009. At the end of the 2009 season, NASCAR mandated teams to only having 4 cars, and unfortunately McMurray's 26 would be the one chopped from the Roush stable. And we've hit our penultimate full-time number for RFK, and it's our last championship winning one. Here is the 97. The 97 has 14 total wins with 1 driver. The first to pilot the RFK 97 would be Chad Little, and his John Deere car is still one of the best of all time. Tell me I'm wrong. And something interesting to note, his 1997 campaign was ran in a Pontiac. I couldn't figure out why this was, so if any of y'all know why he would be running a Pontiac, I would definitely appreciate it if you'd put it down below. Little would have his best points finish of 15th in 1998. He would come close to victory at Texas, finishing 2nd that season. He would split time in the 97 with up-and-comer Kurt Busch during the 2000 season, and Little would ultimately lose the ride to Busch the very next year. And then that brings us to our second and most recent champion for the team. Kurt Busch would take over the ride full-time in 2001 and would pilot it until 2005. Busch would become a phenomenon, winning 14 races and ultimately the title in 2004. Busch would announce midway through the 2005 season that he would be leaving RFK to join Penske and replace a retiring Rusty Wallace. Kurt would get an early start to his departure from Roush, as he would be suspended for the last 2 races of the season. He would have a run-in with police outside of Phoenix Raceway after failing to stop at a stop sign. According to the police, he would get belligerent with the officers, and they said he smelled of beer. Roush would cut ties, and Kenny Wallace would run the remaining 2 races of the 2005 season. We've hit the final full-time number for RFK. This is also the winningest number in the organization's history. It is close with the 6. Will Brad K make the 6 the winningest? Here's the 99. The 99 has 40 total wins with 2 different drivers. And there have only ever been 2 full-time drivers in the RFK 99, and they are both well decorated. Jeff Burton would be the first, as he would pilot it from 1996 until 2004. During this time, Burton would grab 17 total wins, with a best points finish of 3rd coming in 2000. Burton would win the Southern 500 and 2 Coke 600s in his time with the number. The team struggled to find a full-time sponsorship backing for Burton in 2004, and Burton would eventually depart the team in August of that year to join Richard Childress Racing, making way for our next full-time driver. But first, a word from Dave Blaney. Yep, Blaney would make one start in the Roush 99 at Charlotte in 2004 after Burton would leave the team. And that's it. That's the Blaney bit. Now we get to Cousin Carl. Carl Edwards would take over for the majority of races after Burton's departure in 2004. He would then go full-time with the team and number in 2005, and it would take him all of 4 races that year to find victory lane. A wild photo finish with Jimmy Johnson at Atlanta would be the first of 23 wins for Edwards in the RFK 99. Edwards would dominate the sport. However, he would experience heartbreak on 2 occasions, where he would finish second in the standings twice. In 2011, he would tie with Tony Stewart in the points, with the tiebreaker going to Stewart. Edwards, in my opinion, could very well be the best driver to never win a title. He would leave the team at the end of the 2014 season to join Joe Gibbs. And man, that's happened to Roush twice, which isn't a lot, but it's kind of weird that it happened more than once. And oh yeah, Ryan Reed made a lone start for Roush in the 99 in 2016 at Talladega, being the last start for the 99 in the RFK stable. And I wanted to take this time to really touch on RFK's lower division history, as they've had a lot. There will more than likely be a full video dedicated to them, but until then, I wanted to highlight it here. Their Xfinity Series program has had a lot of success. 5 championships and 137 total wins. They would run their first Xfinity race in 1992 and would run their last in 2018. I hope Brad Keselowski brings back their Xfinity Series program. They were always a threat. And their truck program has also seen some success. 1 championship and 50 race wins is nothing to complain about. Their first truck race was in 1995 and their last was in 2009. And they also have 4 ARCA victories to their name as well. I know that was quick, but there will be a full video on it soon. I promise. Now on to honorable mentions. So I didn't think about this, but since we didn't know who the next team would be after the Hendrick video, y'all weren't able to leave honorable mentions for this one. To fix this, we will be doing Penske for the next video, and then the poll that will go out after this video will be for the one after Penske. I still have some honorable mentions from Discord, so let's get to those. Thanks for the understanding, y'all. Christian mentioned RFK's 1-2 finish just this past weekend at Daytona. It was a moment to show that Roush is definitely back, and for others in the garage, that should have them worried. Midnight and Christian mentioned the 2003 Darlington finish between Kurt and Ricky Craven. While Kurt was on the losing end of it, you have to have a loser in order to have a moment like that, and it was unfortunately the Roush 97 in this instance. And then Christian, Katie, Midnight, and Dice all agree that the 1-2-3-4 finish at Homestead in 2005 was incredible. Y'all thought it was cool when Hendrick did it at Dover? Well, Roush did it first, with Biffle winning the race and Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and Carl Edwards rounding out the top 4. And then Saltbaum and Phantom mentioned Todd Kluver in the 06. We touched on him a little earlier, but he and David Reagan would run select races in the 06 and 2006 to get them ready to replace a departing Mark Martin. Great mentions, y'all. And that'll do it for RFK team history. This was just as fun as the last one. Thanks for being so awesome, guys. As always, I'm prone to forgetting drivers and moments. Let me know anything I may have missed for this one down below. The next team featured will be Penske, so be sure to let me know your honorable mentions for that one below. The poll after the video comes out would be for the team after Penske's video. Be sure to vote there as well. This series will be a twice a month one, to go hand in hand with track history and Xfinity Series number history. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. It helps a ton and I definitely appreciate it. And did you know that 77% of my viewers aren't subscribed, but they are returning viewers? If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? And we also have a Discord server. Find the invite in the About section of the channel or in the description below. We share our silly season picks, merch collections, race reaction, exclusive contests, and so much more over there. Come join us. But that'll do it for us here at Dogleg Media. I'm Matt, your host, and you've been watching NASCAR Team History. I'll see you next time.